Dr. Oluwatosin Adekeye to unmute himself and let's enjoy his presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to each and every one of us from wherever we are joining from. Like the host has said, Oluwatosin Adekeye is my name. Incidentally, I'm also a member of the Kaduna State Substance Abuse, a member of the board for the Kaduna State Substance Abuse and Rehabilitation. And we're talking about something very exciting today. We're looking at the Gen Z. Now, let me just give you a background to my excitement. I'm a Generation X, okay? And my wife is a Generation Y. And my children are a Generation Z. In fact, 3 of them are Gen Z, and the last one is a Generation Alpha. Now, what that means is that we are spread over all the generations. And let's understand that when we use the word generation here, we're referring to social descriptions and not the genetic description. What I mean by genetic description is your father, then your grandfather, then your great-grandfather. No, we're looking at socio-cultural contexts. Now, when I talk about drugs, I like to just begin with a statement by Sarah Kane. There's not a drug on earth that can make your life meaningful. There's not a drug on earth that can make your life meaningful. Now, this Gen Z, who are they? Currently, while they are still youngsters, they generation. What I mean is that they haven't gotten to the point where we can begin to refer to them as, oh, look at this person who has done this particular thing. However, everything that they are doing currently is going to culminate in the making of a mark. So they are youngsters who have not made their mark, and I will talk to you about their age as we go on. Then they are the first. The beauty about them is that they are the first to be born into a world where they know nothing else besides being constantly connected to one another through phones, screens.
Relax.
Sorry, doctor, it was somebody that interrupted.
No, I'm back. Sorry,
I have removed him. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
So they are the first to be born into a world where they know nothing else besides being constantly connected to one another through phones, screens, and tablets. Now the rest, a lot of us who don't belong to this generation, we are connected physically. You know, it's when you go to a birthday party that you get to meet your friends. It's when you go to school that you get to meet your friends. But we're saying that this generation, beyond physical connection, is this constant connection to one another. There really is no free time of connection. Okay, when we come back from school, we go to a party, which is once in a while. We come back and we're besides ourselves, we can do our homework. But we have people who are the first to be born into a world where they're connected by the screen and constant connections. Now, still talking about this Generation Z or Gen Z. They are known as the Zoomers. They're born between the year of 1997 to 2012, which means they're aged around 11 to 26 years. Interestingly, they are about a quarter of the world's population. 1/4 of our world's population. And in Nigeria, they are estimated to be around 50 million Nigerians. They are the first digital natives. Computers, phones, apps, all of that. They are the first digital natives. In fact, I remember that my second daughter looked me one day in the face and said to me, how did you survive without a mobile phone? You know, and I laughed because it's looking like the world would have been probably the dark ages without, you know, the computer. So they're the first digital natives. Oh, they're resourceful. They are independent learners with a lot of what's going on. My first daughter would call me and say to me, there's this course online. I don't know if you can pay for me so that I can do that course. And she's a university undergraduate already. So she's already thinking of some skill that she will need independently, you know, of her degree. Okay? So, independent learners. Then they place priority on well-being and mental health. Now, this point is important because we're talking about drug abuse. Place priority on well-being and mental health. Then they have an inclusive culture. What's an inclusive culture? They are a group of people who don't discriminate. They accept everybody. You know, we're all one. You know, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, and all of that. They value diversity. Why is this? Because they have come into the world at a time when there are several central themes or messages. So the world came out of discrimination and began to talk about multiracial, multi-ethnic, difference in sexual orientation and culture, and the need to accept everybody. That's the world they have been born into, which is why they are an inclusive culture. Why are they an inclusive culture? An abundance of information at their fingertips. Suddenly, they know what we don't know. Like I always give this example. I didn't see Indian hemp until I became a staff of the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, which means at that time, I was 26 years old. I had finished NYSC. That was the first time in my life that I was seeing Indian hemp. But that's not the same with them. There's an abundance of information at their fingertips. It's one click away. And I say this a lot because we must proper to blame. It is also not proper to castigate or to stigmatize. They have been born at a time when the world is in a turbulent state. With the access of information, there's violence, there's kidnappings, there's all kinds of things in the world. And sometimes I hear them say, where are we going as a world? And understand that as they see this, all of these impacts on their mental health, increasing rates of anxiety and depression. And once that is on the rise, it could give birth to risky behavior such as drug abuse that we're discussing today. What else about the Gen Z? There's a lot of stories about rags to riches based on ideas. So they have a lot of all these ideas in their heads of people who have come from rags and have become very wealthy. And it's not following the usual, now we're talking about Nigeria, the usual African proverbs. It's this guy, I like the way he thinks, I like the way he talks, I like his ideology, you know, and look at it. He's making it. I see a lot of people say that to me recently and say to me, why go to school? Guys are making it without going to school and they're giving me facts. It's not a lie, facts. They attend the best schools, this Gen Z. They get the highest paying jobs. They win debates. You know, we send a lot of them, we send them to the best of schools. And why is this? Because some of us have come from a background that says, if I send them to the best of schools, they'll be better equipped. But with one thing that goes with the best of schools is the winning of debates. So if you live in a family like I do, where I encourage my children to speak to me, you will find that whenever I say something, they say, no, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. That's your generation. Doesn't work like that. This is how it works now. One of my children said to me one day, he said, I read it on the internet. And I had to begin to ask where, what site, and educate as to how to be sure that whatever you are reading, you can be sure that information is reliable. So they win debates. They're more involved in the entertainment industry. And this is key, because when we come to talk about drug abuse, the entertainment industry plays a key role here. Now, the drugs, I know that this has been an ongoing program, so which means that the drugs, people have talked a lot about drugs, and you have alcohol, you have marijuana, you have opioids, things like tramadol, codeine, you have stimulants, you know, such as caffeine, nicotine, sedatives, you know, that people use to calm down, things like Valium. Now, something that we're beginning to see now is we're beginning to see a rise in the number of females or girls, you know, who are involved in drug abuse. Now, I can say this because when I started work, we were seeing more boys, more men. Now we're seeing more women, you know, more girls, you know, and it just shows that the tide is turning. Now, what contributes to drug abuse in the Gen Z, amongst the Gen Zs or the Zoomers? Studies tell us that they have become the most stressed people on earth currently, and I'll explain that. They have come at a time with just, well, some people say we've come out of a pandemic or all of that. They've come to the world at a time where there are pandemics. And they came at a time when a particular pandemic kept them at home. Suddenly, they couldn't go to school. They couldn't interact with their classmates. Everything moved from on-site to online. And as they moved online, where they were already before, they had access to more information about what is happening in different regions of the world. And their mind is thinking and saying, there's nowhere in the world that is safe. Stress. 90% studies tell us have experienced psychological or physical symptoms of stress. Now understand that stress plays a key role in drug abuse. When people are stressed, they're trying to keep the stress down. And somebody says to them, just drink this, it will cool you, it will calm you, your mind will calm down, all the anxiety will cool down. That's why stress plays a key role. And 95% have experienced psychological and physical symptoms of stress. Palpitations, symptoms of anxiety, fainting spells. I see Gen Z people reach out to my children to say, your father is a psychologist. How much does he collect for psychological services? Because I need to see a psychologist. Now I'm taken aback initially, because when I was that age, I didn't know what a psychologist meant. 70% say that anxiety and depression are significant problems among their peers. Now this is Gen Z people reporting themselves. 70% say they see depression and anxiety as significant problems among their peers. Increased anxiety Like I said earlier, due to COVID-19, being out of school, greater social media involvement. And what happens when they're stressed? They turn to TikTok. Why do they turn to TikTok? It's affordable. But not that. The lack of social stigma. TikTok won't stigmatize you. They'll accept you. They'll feel your pain. Guy, I feel you. What else? Access to comfort and comfortability with technology. They're very comfortable with technology. So many times they end up spending 10 hours or more online per day. Now, the other side, the downside of this, then we begin to see self-esteem issues, pressure to conform, exposure to cyberbullying, and all of this will lead to stress, psychological and physical, and a propensity to do drugs. What of Gen Z and the family? They were born at a time when both parents work. And many of them work various jobs, are living in various different parts of town. Sometimes they are alone by themselves. And who is the nanny that takes care of them? Many times they have a physical nanny. Mainly is screen time. The TV, the phones, games, and all of that. I asked my son one day, this game that you play, of what use is it? And he said to me, it equips me with life skills. Now, I could only begin to speak like that after I'd been to the university. And I come from a family where my both parents were lecturers. So understand these groups of people. Both parents work in order to keep the family going, and the nanny is the screen. So they are modeled, their behavior, their character, their thinking is modeled by the screen. The Gen Z and accessibility. Like I said earlier, we must have a lot of empathy for this generation of people, because everything is at their fingertips. Now let's come to drugs. Drugs at the fingertips. Somebody does a 2 seconds video of how they're feeling good and enjoying themselves. A lot of the programs, live programs, that are beamed on DSTV, for example, shows young people partying and catching fun. So you hear the terminology, I'm living the life. And what does it mean to live the life? It's, let's just be free. This world is too stressful. Why do we have to go through all this? So at their fingertips is drugs, is sex, is violence, and it's not their fault they were born at this time. Not saying that is correct. I'm saying that out of empathy, we need to understand that they were born at this time. Now, this social media, the Gen Z and drugs. Social media is a powerful tool for peer support. Can't take that away. It destigmatizes health issues. Like I said earlier, you're feeling sad, you're feeling unhappy. Oh, that's fine. We understand it. We also go through it. However, there are risks. Risks such as loneliness, risks such as obsession, exposure to misinformation. All you have to do is go online. I'm not feeling too good today. I go online, I Google, and Google will give me some suggestions as to certain drugs that I can take. Taking advice from unqualified people. These are the risks. Very critical part. When we talk about the fight against drugs, we always, at one point, we talk about mentoring. And we are talking about adults who can mentor. The Gen Z have a challenge today in the area of mentoring. A lot of the mentors are online, and they are selected as mentors. I wouldn't even call them mentors, I would refer to them as influencers. Why would I call them influencers? They really influence their behavior more than mentoring. Mentoring, like you and I in the Generation X know it, is someone who sits with you, who follows you, when you go to his house, that real time follow up. Now, what the influencers do is, once they post a video, there is a bell that rings and reminds you that the video has come up by your influencer. You go there and he just says a few things for 5 minutes, and you go away with, wow, I just got something from here. That 5 seconds is not enough for mentoring. Now, their mental health, like I said earlier on, is critical in the drive towards drug abuse. Many are depressed without treatment. Many are depressed without treatment. They're without treatment because nobody picks it up. Now, grades drop in school. The person is bullied and no longer plays with their friends. Oh, and have I said something? Access to different forms of drugs now among the Gen Z is crazy. You have it in sweets. You have it in bottles. Somebody holds a bottle of Coke and is drinking Coke for the next 6 hours. Then you know that it's not the normal regular Coke that me and you drink. When we drank it as Generation X, you drink it fast. They first to down it, and then you drop the bottle from the top. You just drop it on the ground. Say, I finished before you. I first you move away. It's different. Somebody gives you a sweet, you just collect it. There's nothing there. There's nothing to it. But they and you block the greater the creativity in ensuring that they are not caught. Unhealthy coping. Now they've come to a world where they go to school at 8 a.m. They don't get back until 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Typical adult work hour. That's stress. So unhealthy coping, they look for something to de-stress. And we're talking about young people here. Declining mental health that leads to risky behavior, particularly drug use. Now let's come to talk about the realities on the ground. You all would have noticed that adverts of alcohol is common during matches. And these guys are sportish. They have clubs. So they're watching a football match and suddenly there's an advert. Because I did psychology and I understand the power of adverts. Adverts are more powerful when you are relaxed or when you are being entertained. Why? Because your mind at that time is not critical. Your mind is not challenging the information. Your mind is relaxed, enjoying the game. So, the more you are hit with that advert, the more your mind tends to accept it. And when that happens, what's the next thing? You will be more amenable towards drug use. That's one side. The other side is adverts that show that the successful, the rich, the big boys smoke or drink. And they relate that with fame and success. Look at your viewing centers. People go watch football. Most viewing centers serve alcohol. And there's a big market with regards to the politics behind money making adverts, drugs, and these viewing centers. And these young people are learning by association. Then you have viral videos of influencers who use drugs. They sing these drugs in their songs. Now, this Gen Z like the music. They like the beats. They like the rhythm. Then what is behind it is an advert. Many times, because you and I don't pay attention, I ask the question, what are they saying? And you will be shocked many times at what they are saying. These visuals trigger the brain's reward center, increasing the risk for addiction. Then you have drug challenge fads on TikTok. The one who can smoke the most this, the one who can drink the most that. Those are fads that are on TikTok. And my point today is this, as I pause for questions. The fact that these people are born at this time creates an enabling environment for them to go into drugs. Mental health concerns, unresolved trauma. We now live in an age where sexual and verbal abuse is very common. So to deal with the pain, the depression that goes with it, they turn to drugs. The environment, the influence of peers is more now than before. Academic pressure, performance pressure, to study longer, to study harder. Sleep problems. A lot of them have sleep challenges with sleep. Because I talk to my own kids. They talk to me. So I couldn't sleep well last night. I kept having nightmares. Then we sit and we talk with them, and I sit and talk with them. If there's no adult to speak to, they will carry their phones and do a Google. What to do when you are not sleeping? And Google will answer the question and give them a list of what to do. Financial problems. You may say they are not working. They have financial problems. In school, trying to meet up with their peers. Many times, there's this competition. Oh, my father has this, your father does not have. And they need to live up to remember that there are also young people who are living at a time where their self-esteem is very fragile. Tension at home. So tension between father and mother. For this generation of people, they turn straight to their phones. Lack of school connectedness. What should we do? Like what we're doing today, we need to enlighten ourselves. That's number one. Number two, we need to be more empathetic, not sympathetic, empathetic. They have come at this time and they are barraged by information. And in empathy is to reach out to them at their level. This is what I always say. Don't stigmatize them for being a Gen Z. Don't discriminate for being a Gen Z. They will turn to the media, the social media, that does not have Gen Z, that does not have stigmatization. Thirdly, we must be there to provide the balance of life. Like I said earlier on, to provide the information. When you are looking for information about this is where to go to. This is how to access that information. This is how to know that this information is valid or it's not valid. And above all, is what our National Drug Law Enforcement Agency is doing today in creating an awareness amongst people. But this is an issue. This is a challenge. This is a potential issue. And we need to talk about it, and we need to be prepared for it. We need to be there physically and emotionally to help with it. Thank you very much.
Wow. Dr. Adeke just wowed. I almost, I was enjoying it like as if I was not the host. I was just enjoying it like any other person listening out there. And I think that was an awesome presentation. I can see a lot of hands up for you, Dr. Adeke. Thank you very much. This is not, this cannot be exhausted in just at a go. It's something that's awesome. Very, I can see quite a lot of, for those who are already making requests, we had approved some people. So we have until these people who we already approved, until we disengage them from the speakers corner. Please, if I have not approved, you know that we already have enough people on the speakers corner. Just hold on. When after their own interventions, questions, and what have you, you will definitely, I can see quite a lot of people requesting. So we got to run with time. We have barely 1 hour to go. So we just got to, we need to cover a lot of grants. Dr. Adeke, once again, I need to appreciate you for this wonderful presentation. That's very informative, interesting, and enjoyable. I enjoy every bit of it. Let me quickly, once again, the next batch of people, I'd like to acknowledge and appreciate them for joining the conversation. One young lady, that is Dara Nelson. Dara Nelson is one of the young women out there who is very passionate about Gen Z and their well-being. I know wherever she is, she must join this, and she already joined the conversation. Thank you, Dara. Our own very wonderful, excellent young officer, Asma Ahmad. She's very much instrumental to our decision to bring Dr. Oluwatosin Adekeye on this. She actually got she actually briefed me about the presentation by Dr. Adekeye at a program in Kaduna in Zaria, and I couldn't wait to have, and we're glad today we have Dr. Adekeye. Thank you very much, Asma. Thank you, Ediri Juan, for joining. Action for Youth Empowerment, our own Parabawa. Thank you, Abiodun Oladimeji, Sonia, Steven Sander. Thank you, M. Sani. Thank you, Dr. Ashiru Abbas. Thank you, Dara. Thank you, Shumirai Nyashanu. I don't know whether that's Nigeria. Thank you, Shina. Thank you, everyone. We'll have quite more than enough to acknowledge. But then let's quickly start the interrogation, the questions, and the conversation continues from here. Now, let's take who takes the first shot. Dr. Kemi, please hold on. Let's give Loretta, because this is probably the last one she'll be holding with us here before she goes back to her base in Chicago. So, Loretta, let's give you the first slot to fire. I know Dr. Adekeye is your very good friend, so it's an opportunity for you. Thank you. Yeah, I gave you out. That's fine.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Dara, it's good to see you. Dr. Femi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Kenny. Good afternoon, Dr. Babafemi. Good to see you. Dr. Tosi, I'm so proud of you. I mean, when you were talking, I was just jumping. You're like, yes. Dr. Tosi and I worked together. He was a consultant. He worked as a research consultant. Then he was in UI then as one of our we brought them in as one of our consultants. I was working with Save the Children International then as an M&E specialist, and we had a research to conduct, and we partnered with UI at that time, and Dr. Tosin was on that the UI team for that research, so I know him very well. And so when I saw on his DP, on his WhatsApp DP, he was going to be on this program, I was like, yay! I was so happy. I didn't answer Dr. Malafemi like, come, you're inviting my friend Afram. So, I mean, I'm so proud. He has spoken a lot, and I wouldn't say I have a lot to say after he has spoken. However, I rate that when he mentioned stress, as a major factor for why for why Gen Z people engage in drug use or drug abuse or substance use of whatever kind. To me, it's to say, you know what, it's something a lot of us have actually not dived into. And I know I was writing something about stress and substance abuse. It just occurred to me when you mentioned that the stressors around us, from everything he has listed, is something that we can curb, starting from the homes. And I know a lot of people here that heard me speak with the community, because I mean that's my interest, because I know that it is nipped in the bud to a large extent in the homes by parents. It will go a long way to actually decrease the number of challenges or issues we have in the macro for Gen Z, for the Gen Z generation, for the Gen Z. So I want to say that parents that are on this platform, let's try and help the children to reduce the stressors. I know that we cannot to a large extent begin to monitor what they do, but to a large extent we can keep talking. We can keep censoring their trends. We can to a large extent censor who they engage with. We might not have all the capacity to influence outside the home, but for me, once they are back home, once you have access, once young Gen Zs, we also have a lot of them that are into religious activities. So it's also time, because I also know that Dr. Tosin is also a reverend, a pastor as well. So he's actually speaking from one perspective. But let me also take that part and include to say that we should also try and look at the faith-based approach with who their mentors are in churches, in the mosque, in whatever faith that they believe in. As parents are also taking on that role of ensuring that they distress these children. What I mean is that help identify what's stressing them, and also help point them to mentors. I heard Dr. Tosin talk about his children's friends that identified him as a psychologist, and they would like to speak with him. For me, I think that's a thumbs up, because it means to a large extent he's been an example of his children, and his children have been able to take that outside to say, you know what, my dad could be of help. So if you have a lot of those young people that, I mean, in their circles, in their peer circles, they can point to adults, they can point to seniors within the community, within other families that can support those young people. To a large extent, it will work. And I tell you that the stressors they have now, I mean, in the 1980s when we were born, it wasn't this bad. There's so much pulling them from everywhere. At times I pity them. Just like Dr. Tosin said, what they watch on TV. I mean, all the social media thing, it's a lot of stress. And a lot of them cannot even manage what they are seeing, what they are hearing. And in the long run, what do they do? You say you can't beat them, you join them. I can tell you that with all those statistics, but I tell you, majority of the young people just join them because it's overwhelming for them. They cannot. So I will really say, I think this is an awesome topic. I think we should do a series about this. And I know there was also a time, I'm going to wrap up and hold the mic. There was a time a man came on this platform to say that he had issues with the son. He was looking for who to work with. And thank God we directed him to the call center. I hope he got support. So what am I saying? I'm saying probably, if we can have, we can have 1 or 2 more series on Gen Z, and also have people talk to young people that can have access to Twitter and bring them on board. And we can never say we have the more of Dr. Tosin that can speak. We can have 1 or 2 people talk and we need help, because people don't even know where to go for help. When we continue to have such platforms, talk about it again and again, you can never see how many people we can reach. I thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Tosin.
Thank you, Loretta.
Thank you very much. Okay, Doctor, please go ahead.
No. I was just going to respond to her quickly to say it's the person that knows you that does you. So I was just going to quietly just go away with the little introduction that I have done. But Loretta has to bring me out completely. Thank you very much, Loretta, for that comment.
Don't mind Loretta, Doc. She spoke more than she ought to. She just gave you out fully. Even me that I brought you, I didn't even know that much about you. All right, very well said. Thank you, Loretta, for your contribution. Excellent one. I'm actually excited. And I can assure you, Loretta, we're going to be having the next 2-3 editions of this devoted to, because we really need to do everything we have to do to help this generation overcome this challenge. I can tell you that recently a friend of mine panicked because her 9 or 10-year-old son, she was called, and because her 9 or 10-year-old son was talking about stress, that he's stressed, and I'm like, stressed at somebody being fed, somebody being housed, as in adult at that age. So, and these are the things that lead these young people to do things they ought not to do. Okay, let me not. It's not in my place now. I need a lot of us to enjoy this conversation by interrogating what Dr. Adekeye had presented or asking questions. I know Dr. Kemi Olunloyo cannot wait to speak. So I would like to yield the mic to her, and let's hear from her before we move to the next person.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Kemi Dr. Adekeye, a very good presentation, very excellent presentation. Thank you for joining us on this space. I joined NDNA a year ago with this space is because of prescription drug abuse. And for the year that I've been here, it's been a nightmare. And I have a question for you, but first I want to quickly, because we don't have a lot of time, I want to quickly go to that question through another route. I am going to be 60 years old next year. I have a child in this house who's 22, who's going to be 23. When I left Canada 11 years ago, my child was 11 years old. He's now 22, going to 23. Whenever I open KJ's room here in Lagos, Ajah, Lagos, whenever I open my son's room and I just go inside, I knock first. Like when I enter my son's room, I'm actually in another country. Now, what is going on? He has a laptop, he has 2 phones, an iPhone and Android. What is going on is we left America and then we went to Canada. But when we left America, we came to Nigeria and then off to Canada. So he was 5 years old when we left America. He's now 22. He watches all of these people saying they're going to Jakba, young people complaining, Jakba, Jakba. And he sits down there looking at his 10-year US passport, and I'm like, he's like, where are they jackbuying to? Don't they know what's going on in America? I said, but you left at 5 years old. You don't know what's going on either. But if you sit in my son's room for maybe 30 to 40 minutes, you see my son talking to total strangers. Some of these total strangers have been his friends since he arrived in Nigeria. So I know Justin very well. Justin is one 12-year-old boy that my son has been friends with over the internet since 2012. So now Justin and KJ grew up on the internet. They're now 22-year-olds. So he wants to go on holiday, visit Justin. He forced me to introduce myself to Justin's mother. I had to. Over the internet, we did something called FaceTime. So I spoke to Justin's mother. Justin's mother is aware that Justin talks to KJ in Nigeria. So both of us mothers knew each other and we exchanged information. So they're going to meet for the first time. Aside from Justin, there's also the school kids he left in Canada who were 12. Today, 4 of my son's very good friends that I took photos of them together. One particular boy, Janae, I used to send him to go buy pizza down the road. So when Janae just came out of prison, he's a gangster now. He spent 3 years in prison. You see how the Gen Z life just goes? I said, Janae, the 12-year-old I used to go back and say went to prison? Say, yeah, it just came out now. So I said, show me his Facebook page. We were watching Janae smoking weed and blowing the smoke. And I'm like, KJ, you're not going to Canada to visit Janae. These people are smoking weed and it's legal over there. So you see a lot of variations of what they're seeing online. TikTok videos, TikTok friends. My son's friends are all virtual. They are all virtual. And what we have to do what we have to do is we have to be attentive at what they're doing. Like Loretta said, like you said, we have to really know what they're doing. And in Nigerian parents are very, very ignorant of these things. Many of our parents in Nigeria don't know what's going on. Now, let me fast forward because this is the question. We don't have a lot of time. Dr. Adekeye, I created Drug Abuse Africa, a different handle. I had it on here earlier, but Network took it out. At Drug Abuse Africa, it's a 5-year project that I'm doing. I'm learning about recovery, addiction and recovery. 25 years ago, I did the same exact thing while working as a pharmacist at Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, one of the most prominent hospitals in the world. And I was an outpatient pharmacy director at the addiction center. This is stuff I did in my 30s. Now I'm almost 60 and I'm back to this stage. But I'm not a practicing pharmacist anymore because I'm in Nigeria. However, Drug Abuse Africa is a way I want to go back. I don't want to say that I want to refresh my memory or I want to prop up my credentials. I'm going to retire in 5 years, 65. However, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to learn new things I didn't learn in that crowd of 1997. That was crack cocaine mostly, hardly any prescription drugs, maybe Percocet, but a lot of other prescription drugs. Today, we're having kids 18 to 25 who are using prescription drugs. So my question for you, Dr. Adekeye, please, this research I'm doing, I'm trying to see what other countries are doing, even visit some if I can. I'm watching the UK at 5,000 to 7,000 pounds a month for recovery. I'm looking at Nigeria, 500,000 to 700,000 to 1.2 million a month for recovery. How do I, as Kemi Olunloyo, pharmacist, how do I, as Kemi Olunloyo, journalist, because I have those platforms as a pharmacist and as a journalist and as a PR specialist, my 3 degrees, how do I tell parents in Nigeria that you must teach your children, especially your Generation Z, about drug recovery costs, about drug addiction costs? Recovery is expensive. That's my question, because many parents don't know this thing is going to be costly. I met one family over the internet in Anambra last week. Their son almost poisoned their father who had a stroke. Chased the mother all over the compound with a knife, methyl and crystal methamphetamine. I told them it's going to cost money when you have to go to the rehab and send them to the NDRA center and found places for them, but it's money. How? And the guy said to me, we don't have money, we're poor. What do they do? It's not America where it can be free because the government pays for it. To see 5,000 to 7,000 pounds in the UK shocked me. You know, and charities are coming in. A whole UK city yesterday, Gateshead, half of the city is hooked on drugs and they're asking for help. Gateshead UK, you can Google it. Everybody's asking for that. So how do parents reach out to their kids and say, don't do drugs, so it's a lot of money, I can't put my whole savings into it. Or we had David Solarami who came here and told his own stories. I mean, rich family, good schools. Please, Dr. Adekeye, how do we tell our children? Thanks, I yield the mic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kemi Olunloyo. Thank you. Before Dr. Adekeye comes on, let me quickly once again acknowledge some of our people on the space. Dr. Francis Nwabia, I guess, I don't know unless he speaks, but I suspect Dr. Francis Nwabia is somewhere outside of the country. Thank you, Obona Ohakwe. Thank you, Funsho Jimo. Thank you, Noso Onye Jemezi. Thank you, Abubakar Wakili. Thank you, Tony Orumbe. Thank you, Emmanuel Eze. I think I actually mentioned Dr. Ashiru Abbas. I hope he's not a colleague of Dr. Adekeye. I was already targeting him. I hope he's the one I was targeting before. I definitely would have him on this space in the coming weeks. Okay, Doc, please, you can mute yourself and let's hear from you.
Okay, Dr. Kemi, thank you very much for that question and that description. Yes, the reality is that our children today have friends make friends on the internet. Their connection is on the internet. When we were much younger, we had pen pals. So you will write a letter and wait for so many weeks for your letter to arrive. After some time, you just give up and tell yourself it's childish. But this one, with FaceTime, you get to meet everybody. And the sad part is that some of these people have gone into drugs, have gone into violence, have become gangsters. Now, the downside of social media many times is the prop-ups, you try to make it look like, you want to do a movie. Let's set this thing so that it looks like I'm nice, I'm cool, I'm okay, there's nothing really wrong. It's when you go deeper or when you go to other handles that you find out that, oh, this guy has really gone off the bend, he's gone into something else. And you are correct. Parents are not aware of the gravity of drugs, of the gravity of its availability, and of recovery. A parent came into my clinic a month ago with their son who started with tramadol, and by the time he went into rehab, he came out doing crack from rehab. Now, so the mother comes in and she says she wants me to help. There's another medical doctor whose only son, his wife had died so many years ago, and this is the only child. He didn't remarry because of that boy. Now the boy is into drugs, he's lost his job, he's changed jobs, and they reached out to me to say, what can we do? In fact, the doctor said to me, I contacted a lot of your colleagues. The bill that they are giving me is crazy. And I said to him, that's the cost of recovery. It costs money that people don't have. I've seen people sell their land. I've seen people sell their cars. I've seen people sell their livelihood. And they are doing it, and I'm sitting there and saying, the chance that this is the end of the story, that after all of this guy is good, it's not even up to 50%. So your question is, what do we do? Now, we live in a country where we have focused on so many other things. The beauty, however, I will state here, now we have the mental health bill that has, after so many years, the lunacy law is gone. We can say goodbye to that one. Now we have a mental health bill that really spells out a lot of these things. But you and I know, something is gazetted. We're hoping that the same push with which we went for the bill is the same push that we will go. If you look at it, it's actually care-driven than professional-driven. It's really, like I was discussing with one of my colleagues, what we have done with the mental health bill is to tie ourselves up. In other words, to ensure that people get the right kind of care like they should get. But even then, this one will cost money. So the issue is prevention. And now this is where it becomes a critical factor. I said earlier on that we have parents who are working, they're just working. I need to make money so that I can send my children to the best of schools. My first daughter is in a private university. She's in a private university where if they catch you, they do checks, random checks. And then they do urine tests. And if they catch you, you go home, because the man says, this is not a rehabilitation center, it's a school. Now, because all these children come from privileged homes, the access is there as a result of privilege. Let me give you an example. And it's not a bad thing. You and I are slaving to give them the best of life. But a child has, when I started work in Nebi Uzziah, my salary was 1,300. father, who was a professor, was giving me 1,500 per month, only for me to come and collect 1,300 as a worker. A lot of these children are they're collecting above the minimum wage. Or their friends, they are connected to people who have access to money above 30,000 naira, the minimum wage. So accessibility. Now, what parents need to do is an awareness. There's a WhatsApp group that I belong to, and there are some of these groups all over the place. Parents talking to parents. As they see videos, they post those videos, and then they say to people, look at what is going on, or let's talk to ourselves. Let's read books on these things. How do we engage with our children? We need to spend time with them. We need to sit with them. I take my daughters out on dinner dates. Not my wife, my daughters. And we sit down there, they've dressed nicely. We sit down there and we talk. In that free environment, we talk. Because of that, and let me give you a quick background. When I talk of my daughters, their mother died 7 years ago. I just remarried last year. So somebody says to me, how do you talk to your daughters about boys? I say, who told you that I cannot talk to them about boys? Am I not the one who gave birth to them? So we sit on my bed, I sit them beside me, and I say, let's talk. And the first day I said to my daughter, you must have boyfriend now. If I didn't have girlfriend, I would not have married your mother. She would not have had you. You know, her eyes almost fell out. It's like, wow. I said, but if you don't do it at the right time, you're going to have these challenges. Look at this, look at this, look at that. So today, she calls me from the university and say, I went to see this lecturer, and Daddy, don't worry. I went with my friends. Now that's because we have opened that line of communication. Can I shock us? Since they were in the womb. I learned in psychology that they can hear, they can perceive music. I've done it since that time. So when they were born, we built on it age-appropriate conversations, age-appropriate engagements. And as they grow older, I modify it. Oh, we got to a point where I said to them, you know these uncles that come to see me? They are pastors, they are my friends. You don't jump on them anymore. I won't allow you to jump on me, so you don't jump on them. Because I'm a man, you are a girl. We're two different people. We're two different, gender. I had to work that in for them to realize that, okay. And what was I communicating? I was trying to deal with things relating to sexual abuse. Oh, I'd been to places before. I went to visit somebody, and a boy was carrying a girl, a man was carrying a girl, he was having an erection. I saw it. So we must be able to engage. The key is to spend time, alone time. We've gone to an eatery before. All of us went with our phones. And suddenly everybody, you know that joke that goes around that video, everybody was on their phone pressing. So I looked around and said, okay, what we are going to do now is we will collect our food and we will go home to go and eat it. And then they said, no, it's not fun doing that. I said, but we are pressing our phones. We're supposed to be having time out to connect, to gist, to talk, to laugh, to make fun. Everybody now was going to put off their phone, and I said, you put it on flight mode or you switch it off. Let's have some time together. Let's talk to one another. Now, empathy is key. Do not approach it with, I'm going to say no. Do not approach it with, you are a bad child. Approach it understanding the challenges of what they are going through. When my children say, like Dr. Babafemi said just now, said the child said he's stressed. When my children tell me that they're stressed, I pay attention. Okay, so what's the stress? The normal response will be, nonsense, you are not buying food, you are not paying for light. Now, I do that as a joke, and then I come back to say, so what's stressing you? Many times they come to me to say, can we talk? Do you have time? I say, well, for you, there's always time. Come on in, let's talk. So parents must create that space, like this space we are creating, that open space to talk about it so that you can prevent it before it happens. Oh, but after it's happened, what do? It's the same empathy. It's the same understanding. I said to a parent once, you need to let your child know that it's okay to miss it. It's okay to fall. Just be open to me and tell me if you have fallen, and I will be able to lift you up. I'm here for you. I'm here as support. I'm here to hold your hand. We can walk through this together. I hope I've tried to answer your question.
Yeah, you did very well at that, and that's the one thing I'm always telling parents to please let's know what's going on once a week. Ask your kids, how was your week? Know their friends, because like I said, my son's bedroom is a different country. I've met so many people online who are his friends, but many parents feel it's an invasion of privacy, and it shouldn't be. Dara Nelson is on this space, and she's a Gen Z person who did a show about Gen Z one Sunday night last year, and some of the stuff we talked about on this, I wanted her to talk as well to you, because there are Gen Z people who know the problems of Gen Z, and there's some who are ignorant of it. Drug Abuse Africa, Dr. Adekeye, when you get a chance this weekend, go through my post on Instagram, Drug Abuse Africa. There's 39,000 people there, and it's more people, more followers are there because it was my former music journalism page, so they haven't gone. It was 41, but it's 39 now, but most of them haven't gone because they're interested in what I'm saying. If you try and see a viral post, watch how they're abusing me, cursing me out about marijuana. I have to take tramadol every day. I work in construction. Just all these different things. They're fighting, and they're all Gen Z. So just take a look at it. Drug Abuse Africa. Thank you. Okay. You did answer that question very well. Good luck with your daughters. I have all sons. Three sons.
Okay, I have 2 daughters, 2 sons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we could still be in-laws.
Yeah.
My children are 36, 31. One's going to be 36, one 32, and then the 22-year-old 23. The older ones are in America.
Why for your son? Is that what
the oldest two in America. It's funny because the oldest two are in America. They've never been to Nigeria.
Wow.
And the youngest one is dying to go live with the older ones. Hopefully next year. Thank you so much. I'll be listening.
Thank you.
Okay, can we take Fodio next?
Thank you, Ben.
Put yourself and let's hear you.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Oluwatosin. I must commend you. You did justice to this topic. So I just have, I think, two questions for you. One, you said something about the generation. So they are born in the time where all these things are happening. So what should we do? That's the question. Secondly, I think it's important that parents know this. Religion plays very, very, very important role in this, because for me, it worked for me. Religion was a major factor for me. It played a major role to driving my recovery. And again, the entertainment industry. I have a couple of friends down the north here who are entertainers, and I used to think that all the entertainers are actually into drugs. Not until recently that we were talking with one of them, and I realized he doesn't even drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do any of those. And I feel the entertainment industry is a major stronghold for whatever message, because I mean the Zoomers, the Gen Z generation, I mean we look up to the entertainment industry plays a very major role to whatever it is that they are consuming. So I think it's important that the NDA who find a way. These superstars, it's time they start telling these people that some of these things are just for business. I mean, you don't have to do this. You don't need to take any of these things to be successful. I think the entertainment industry is going to play a very major role towards that. So religion and entertainment are two major things for me that I feel, if put into use properly, would do a lot, would go a long way in
drug abuse and substance abuse. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, thank you very much for that comment and that question. I agree with you totally that religion plays a key role. In fact, if you look at quite a number of the success stories, you will find out that religion has played a role both in recovery and even in prevention. You know, and it's important because there is that conscience within the individual that tap, that thermostat, that's the word I'm looking for, that helps the individual to say no, that gives him the power to say no, or that encourages him even when he falls to say, I will rise again, I will get through this. Remember that the first statement in the Alcoholics Anonymous is we are powerless against this, but I'm not quoting it directly, but you know, there's a power greater than us, and that power is the power of God. So that's very important. It plays a key role. Now to your question about what to do when we have all this information. You see, information that you do not use will not yield any results. This, I say it like this many times. We go to school to study accounting, go to school to study medicine, go to school to study pharmacy, go to school to study law. And what are we doing? I want to become a better doctor, to care for people better. I want to become better at handling money. But nobody goes to school to study how to parent. So many of us parent by default. You know, you marry a woman, she gets pregnant, she gives birth to the first baby after 9 months, you have become a father. So suddenly you have to start being a father without actively saying, what does this mean? And I'll say something quickly when I was talking about conversations. When the children are much younger, you know, when your children come in from school, what's the first question you ask them? How was school today? School is fine. Finish. That's the only conversation. Who did you sit with today? What did he say to you? When you were having your lunch, who were you sitting with? When you were on the play field, who did you play with? How did you play with the person? Did you people talk to each other? What did you say to one another? Oh, why did this happen? Why is that happening? When I go to pick my children, I have the privilege of having a driver. But there are times that I say, early morning school conversation is very good. So one day, we were driving to school, and my son was in primary 6. And he just said something, and he said, then there is shisha. You know, I slammed the brakes because I was like, what? Primary 6, shisha. I didn't know that one until after my master's degree. So I then continued driving and said, oh, so tell me about shisha. I said, oh, it's one of my friends. I don't really know anything about it. It's one of my friends that mentioned it, that his older brother went to Egypt and his older brother takes it. So I said, what did they say it is? He said, no, that he said it helps him to do things better, do things smartly, you know, and all of that. So I had to start educating him to say, oh, okay, well, shisha does this is where it comes from, you know, it's a drug, you know where I work. Yes, where do you work? Okay, work in psychiatry, you know. So this is how it gets into the system, and this is how it gets to the brain, this is how it affects the behavior, and this is how over time it does this and it does that, bringing it down to his level. But if I didn't read books, this is where I'm going. If I didn't educate myself on how to parent before I even started having children, I will not parent effectively and efficiently. So the truth is, now we know who these people are. We know the challenges that they're going through. Somebody passed a paper in my children's secondary school one time about a young lady in the UK who committed suicide out of bullying. and they kept goading her on. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can hang yourself, you can hang yourself, you can do it, you are not a sissy, you can do it. And they just passed the paper around and said, for your information, please watch what your children are watching. And they were going to go on with PTA meeting. And then I got up and said, I don't understand why you are going on with PTA meeting. This is the end of PTA meeting. We finished here. Can I talk to you? I work in mental health. Didn't say you should pay me. Let me let you know. Why did I do that? Because if I'm doing my work in my little cocoon in my house, somebody is not doing his own. We are connected in the society. That person's own will affect my own. So let me help you also deal with your own, so that way we have a safer environment to live in. So another way to deal with it is those of us who know, we need to be more outspoken about these things. Let's use the same social media. Dr. Femi was saying that I have these the social media platforms where I discuss things. I sat down and said to myself, this is the reason why I have a YouTube channel. Let me tell you the truth today. I just said to myself, I'm a clinician. I've been a clinician for almost 30 years. I will not reach everybody, but there are people I can reach if I speak on social media. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I will be reaching somebody. So we provide the information, and we must keep reaching out and keep helping others as we learn. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Doc. Wow. It's as if now the time is very much aware that we're enjoying this conversation and it's just flying. But then we still take as many as we can. Okay, let me quickly, I know I've seen the number of people, Zani, Emmanuel. Granted, just hold on for me. The way you are raising up your hands, I have quite a lot in our DM. Let me quickly read, let me just take let me read some 2-3 messages from DM to you, Doc, so that you can respond to them, so that it doesn't appear we neglect the people in there. Okay, this one comes from Sini. What habits should parents teach their children? I'm sure some of this you would have said in the course of your presentation or response to some other questions. What habits should parents teach their children at a young age to prevent the possibility of drug misuse as they grow up? That is one. There is another one. Lemon is asking, is Gen Z at a higher risk of developing an addiction? Then let me also take this one from Blessing. Doc, I hope you are writing it down. I just want to take a number of this up from DM.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Then this one from Blessing. The boomers saw the legalization of coffee. What's the fear of marijuana legalization for the Gen Z? Then Blessing also asks another question. As a staff of Abu Shika, I'm sure that's your teaching hospital, how often do you treat cases of drug overdose by Gen Z students? Okay, let's stop there. I still have quite a lot in our DM, but let's stop. Let's get you to respond to this, Doc.
Okay, so I'll just take it very quickly. And for the person who says what should parents teach their children at an early age. Incidentally, the first 2-letter word that we teach our children as they start moving around, once the child realizes that I can walk around, I am independent, I can crawl all over the place, 2-letter word, N-O. And that's a powerful word. But somehow, now understand that a lot of the peer influence, a lot of the peer pressure that you see, usually is tied to issues with self-esteem, is usually tied to wanting to conform, wanting to be like, being pressured, being bullied. Now, one thing that is important to teach is independence, is outspokenness. These are characters that is important to teach from childhood, being outspoken. Now, the downside is that it's going to come back to bite you in the bum, because it means that you have to up your game. You will not be able to tell them just anything. They are also going to challenge you. And the third one is to teach them to be able to say no. Now, Yes, I like to explain because they give good illustrations. A few years ago, I had some white guys come into the country and we were doing some work together on a project. And that evening, they had to come for the dinner at my place. I needed to rush out.
Sorry, doctor. Sorry, are you using an earpiece?
It's okay.
Okay, yeah. Better.
Okay, it's better now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so like I said, okay, I'll just go back through that. 3 things that it's important to teach: being outspoken, being independent, and the ability to say no. So I was saying by my illustration that I went out and these white ladies now interacted with my children, and they came at me with, "Wow, you've got a lot of work to do." I said, "Why?" He said, "They challenge everything that people say. They say, 'Why do you say that? Why is that like that?'" In essence, I teach them to ask the question, why? Now, one of them is an engineering student and is the only female in her class. She's class captain. That's what we used to call it class captain. I don't know what's called. I can't remember. My brain is not working now to tell you what it's called. But as the only female, and she said, "I did a presentation and they said I was too fast." I said, "Well, you are like me, so you are a chip off the old block. You will be fast, but just make sure that you have the facts. Don't allow anybody say you don't have the facts. And if they criticize you, listen to the criticism. Access the criticism and then go back and improve on it." What am I doing? Independence, being outspoken. Speak what is on your mind. Don't accept everything as gospel truth until you have checked it out. So that's one way to really, and it's important to build it from childhood. You know, I say some things. I asked my children one day, I said, "What if somebody tells you now that there's no God?" You know, he looked at me with, "Okay, wow, why is he asking that question?" I said, "It's a simple question," and then we had a conversation. So that's what to do. Now, the other question around legalization of coffee and legalization of marijuana. Now, you see, the truth of the matter, please, let me just say this clean, clear, and correct. Now, the marijuana that is legalized, many times the one that is medicinal, is not in the form that people smoke. Go and check the books. It's there everywhere. I've seen it in 27 years. Anybody who smokes marijuana continuously, it's a matter of time. You are calling schizophrenia into your life. That's the truth. That's the truth. And it's because of the way it works in the brain. Schizophrenia, let me describe it for you. It's what the street people call madness. You're picking rubbish on the streets, you're hearing voices that are not there, people are talking to you, you check and they're not there. That's the effect of the long-term use of marijuana. So the implication for our Gen Z children is that they're going to argue to say, if it was wrong, why are some places legalizing it? You need to know how it works so that you can tell them that, you see, this life is about choices. If you go down this road, those guys who have legalized it will not be able to save you when you have crossed the Rubicon. So the fact that some people gather together to legalize it does not mean that they are saying, "Oh, guys, have fun, you are good to go, everything is okay." We need to still teach our children to be able to critically examine. It's not every law that is good for us. Then the third and the last question was about how many Gen Z people that I see. Incidentally, we have a mental health clinic or an emotional clinic in the main campus. Now, I can tell you that we're seeing a lot more Gen Zs in our clinic than ever before for various things, whether it's drug abuse, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety. After ASU strike, we began to see a lot of them. You know, parents were rejoicing that children were resuming school. And the children were coming back to school and saying, I want to drop out of school. After all, this school, there's no need. It's a scam. Why am I going to school? You people just want to change our brain so that we think in a particular way. It's the colonial master's way of keeping us under slavery. You know, powerful arguments. We began to see all of these people and began to talk to them to say, you need help. We need to help you around this. Yeah. So the number is rising, and it's scary because I'm looking at these as the adults of tomorrow, the ones who will produce children, the ones who will be CEOs, the ones who will take over. You know, from a lot of us, some of us may not have left by the time they are taking over, but they will come in. What kind of decisions will they be taking? These are the ones who will vote. These are the ones who will be voted for sometime in the future. These are the ones who will make laws. So it's critical for us at this time to have this conversation to be able to help them navigate through these stormy waters. Kevin Lehman wrote a book on adolescents called Running the Rapids. It's really a rapid waterfall, and we need to help them to navigate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. This is honestly, just as we're drawing close to the end, it's getting more interesting and interesting. Really, really refreshing, exciting, and educating. Okay, away from our DM now, let me take a break there. Let's, I know, Sani, I've seen your hands, but I have some people that have been waiting here before now. I actually want one of our commanders so that we can have a voice from within. Okay, I'll take Bashir Ibrahim, then let Emmanuel Eze get ready after him, and then we'll take K Black and come to you, Sani. I have quite a lot of us. Please, if you want this mic to go around, please let's try as much as possible to make a contribution under 60 seconds. Thank you, Commander Bashir Ibrahim. Please unmute yourself and let's hear from you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, the presenter. I'm sorry, my network will keep on going on and off. Doctor, what an erudite scholar and excellent presenter. I think I've learned a lot from you, and thank you for that. Very much the role of family in drug use prevention, just as you've said. The question is that, how many parents actually understand their children? No children are the same. I have 3 boys, and I will tell you, 3 of them have different character. The way they respond to issues quite different. Even the academic performance, the way they study, quite different. Now you compare them. You put them under pressure academically. Definitely, they are going to be problem. Then you go to the school. How many schools have drug use policies and trained counselors as we speak now? Even the so-called private schools that are trying to introduce drug tests randomly. All of us know that in prevention, one single strategy does not work out. Even if you like introduce drug use policy, it's like and make it punitive, which is not the way out. It's going to be a kind of an all-inclusive strategy that you can bring up, especially drug use policy, which all of us are running away from. How many schools have it? And the school should put these young students under pressure. Probably the school is on strike. When they come back, 8 weeks program, they want to crash for them in less than 3 weeks or in 4 weeks. What do you expect? Definitely, they will need to look for an easy way out. And as parents, just as the presenter has said, we keep on asking straight jacket question. What happened to you? How is school today? Definitely the child will tell you school is fine. But when you ask an open-ended question like, what happened in school today? Come and tell me. What were you taught? What was your response? Do you understand? Which of your classmates did this? What time did you have your lunch? Did you finish your lunch? Did you have extra time to do any other thing? No matter how that child tried to be conservative, definitely that child will try to open for you. My take here is, as parents and as school administrators, First and foremost, as parents, we should not leave all our job to students, to schools to do for us. We should actually play our role. And as school administrators, we should endeavor to actually have policies that help in driving drug use prevention in our environment. We can't run away from it. For example, there's a UN standard that no sales of liquor or any form of substance around 50 meters, 50 meters radius around school environment. But what do you see? You just come out of your school gate, the guy here is selling a sachet alcohol. So we have policies there. Are we making use of them? So I feel as administrators, as parents, we should go back. There's no way, you can't leave it out. Prevention is the key. Once again, thank you very much to the presenter. God bless you for what you are doing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Doc, let's quickly take this one from Emmanuel Eze. Emmanuel Eze, can you unmute yourself and let's get your...
All right, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Personally, I believe that, just like Bashir said, that the drug war cannot be won, the war against drug usage cannot be won by regulations or stuff like that. Because I don't think that by coming up with policies, you're going to defeat the creativity of young minds in the ability to access whatever they want, however they want it. Because you're definitely going to leave them alone, and when they're finally alone, they can use whatever energy they have mentally to find what they want. I believe that family also plays a very critical role, and the role the family should play in the life of their child to help that child stay away from drug usage is to help them develop the ability to think, the ability to make decisions, to analyze situations and make the right decisions, the decisions that align with where they are going. So you need to create an environment where children are allowed to dream and have hope, positive thoughts about the future. If there is nothing exciting in their life, they will fall back to drug usage. And I mean, imagine if you wake up in the morning, there's nothing excites you about tomorrow, and you're bored. What do? You start exploring other things that will help you waste time because you don't have value for time, right? So when you have children who are home bored, away from their video games, sometimes, you might think having kids play video games is bad for them, but, what is the alternative? You deprive them of their video games, which could actually be very good for their development. And indeed, the world is changing very fast, and the way we viewed video game before is way different. So you take the console away from the child, you take every single thing that excites that child away from him or her, and then you have a child that doesn't have anything that excites them. They don't have, because you're trying to protect them, you keep them away from their friends, so they don't have access to people to talk to. They're alone in their room. They take drugs they might fall back to drugs. Chances are they'll fall back to drugs to help waste time. Now, imagine if that child had something, grew up in a different environment where the environment you created is an environment where that child is encouraged to explore, right, their curiosities in a very safe way because you've taught them how to experiment. You've taught them how to think, and you've made them excited about the future. Now, the role the government can play to help parents achieve this thing is by setting up places like tech hubs or places a child can go to try their hands on things if they're excited about building stuff. If your child is running around the house dismantling your electronics, you might want to put that child in an environment where they are taught how to dismantle electronics, for example, right? As a child, I'm a software engineer today. As a child, I will always move around the house trying to pull everything, every electronics I see, the TV, everything, although my mom did not take that very lightly, right? But my dad, on the other side, encouraged it, right? And, he never scolded me for it. He would always laugh, right? And then he would challenge me to put it back together. That is the only way I will escape punishment. I'd always put it back together, right? So you have, if you can create an environment where children are excited about the future and give them the tools to build the future, because no matter how hard it is for you to accept, you're not smarter than a 12-year-old. And if you're smarter than a 12-year-old, then you have failed in terms of helping that child explore and develop their intelligence, because it is anti-evolution to produce people who you are smarter than.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's our take on the subject.
All right, Emmanuel, are you within or you're outside the country?
I am within the country.
Okay.
And I actually have a foundation, and what I do is basically try to excite children about the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Doc, would you want to say something to what Emmanuel and the earlier speaker had said?
Yes, just to quickly say that, the family, when we are doing social studies, we are told that the family is the basic unit of society. And we all know that we all came out from a family. We all remember the typical African culture and the communal role that the African culture plays, where if you see somebody's son doing the wrong thing, you had a right to beat the child, and that child dares not go home crying because you could get beaten the more for doing the wrong thing. So the family plays a key role, and that understanding is very critical. Now, the earlier speaker had said something, and I say it like this. You have 4 children. Kevin Lehman says you have 4 cubs. You know the word cub, from a lion, the baby of a lion. You have 4 cubs from the same den. Each cub is different from the other. That's the wonder of God. So they came from the same parents, but they're 4 different individuals. That's why it's critical to not compare, because you are putting them under pressure. I've gone to my children's school before, and that involved somebody came and said, this one is not doing well like the older sister. This was primary 3, and I marched to the school the following day and said, no, you will never say that again. I said, the reason is simple. There is an ancestry that this child comes from. You do not know where the character came from. Don't compare them for me. You can see that one is black, the other one is yellow. That already tells you that they are 2 different individuals. So they are going to be 2 separate people. I don't want one living under the shadow of the other. That's pressure. And because they can't handle pressure properly, they will be stressed. Because they can't handle stress properly, somebody says, just take this tablet. It will make the pain go away. And there are people who want the pain to go away. So comparison is a no-no. Academic comparison is a no-no. If you want to encourage a child, you can do it without saying, look at this one. You can say, no, I think you need to do this like this. It will be better if you do it like this, because it will improve this, it will improve that. Let me ask a rhetorical question and answer. If your child fails an exam, what do? The problem many times is parents feel bad that their child failed, not because of the child. It's because of their personal egos. Watch them when they attend programs where you have speech and prize. I've seen it before. I will leave you in this school. Your mates are collecting prize. You sat down there. I just came. What did I come to do here? I came for nothing. And you think that that's motivation. You're pouring out a frustration on a child. That child is stressed. And then you wonder why the child is depressed. And out of depression, to get out of depression, they go into drugs. So somebody has talked, the last speaker has talked about creativity. When we do recovery programs, we actually teach, part of what we teach is social skills. How to say no, how to, how to navigate the world of drugs and all of that. But it's also important to teach children creativity, because their mind is active. And if you don't fill it with something, there are so many things that they can do available online for them to do. They can learn Lego, build things, do this, construct this one, destruct that one. My sons do it. They come to me to say, can you pay for this? This is what I'm going to gain by doing it. In fact, after checking a few times, I don't check again because I realize that they actually are telling me they're more aware of it. A lot of the things I know is them. And I'm not ashamed to say, oh, I didn't know that. Tell me what that means. What does this mean? And they don't go gloating and saying, so daddy does not know this thing. I said to them, no human being knows it all. As long as you're a human being, you don't know it all, including you, the child who is talking to me. So therefore, show me this thing. So creativity is very important as we teach social skills. The family is critical. And when I say family, it's not mother. Because let's be clear now. Because most fathers will say, I'm bringing in the money because of time. You see, when we moved to Shika from Kaduna, my house is in Kaduna, I live in Kaduna. I didn't move to Shika for one reason. I found out that when it was dinner time, if I wasn't at home, dinner took up to 45 minutes. Their mother will be shouting. They won't hear. It's like she's not there. They act like she's... there's a Yoruba saying that the one that you see all the time becomes your age mate, so you don't respect the person. But the moment I come in and I say, this is 7 o'clock, dinner is 10 minutes. If you are not done in 10 minutes, that food goes to the dogs. See, by 8 minutes, everywhere is cleared. Everybody has gotten off of the table. And I quickly said to myself, there's a role that a father plays. And I must play that role. So the family plays a critical role. Father and the mother join hand to build the lives of these children. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Doc. We're just drawing close to the end of this conversation today. And the last set of people, we cannot recognize everybody, but just this last set of people that I would like to recognize quickly before we take one more contribution and then we'll draw the curtain. K Black, Jama Bombshell, Taiwo Agbaje, Patricia Lindro, I guess, is joining us from Uganda. And Odawa, thank you all for joining us. Apologies for those I could not mention. They just we have hundreds and thousands. Thank you for joining the conversation today. Let's quickly take the last from M. Sunny. M. Sunny, quickly, just 1 minute. If you can able to do less than 1 minute, I would still like to take intervention from K Black. Please, 1 minute.
Thank you, Dr. Femi. I just want to appeal to this agency. One, just a minute. My appeal is this. We're in the season of election. I'm speaking here in Kaduna. We're in the season of election. What role the agency, NDLEA agency, play? If the EFCC can play a good role, collaborate with INEC official about vote buying, why don't you, NDLEA, play a good role with the INEC official? Because why I'm saying this, because most of people that interrupt in the with election violent people, a lot of youth take heart of drugs before they violated the election issue. So please, what can you play a role to just sanitize the election issue? And my last question is this, please. Can you just wait? And my last question, I just want to throw a big question to Dr. Kemi. My question, because as a pharmacy, what can you please differentiate pharmacy and chemist? Why I'm saying this, most of chemists, when you go to chemists, you can just find out a lot of patient go to chemists and just subscribe a different kind of drugs, and the chemist there can give them a different, without description and whatever this thing. What can you play in the case of chemist and pharmacy? That's question.
Thank you very much, Sonny. Let me quickly take, before we get reactions to all of that, let's quickly take the last contribution from K Black. K Black, please, I had to do this because I know you've been on the speaker's corner since. Please, K Black, if you are not ready, then I would ask Dr.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I really appreciate and commend the speakers and the people that have been speaking earlier. I have this question personally, and this question it's all about me. I'm so sorry to say this, but I just have to say it and not come out straight. I'm a pharmacist. You know, HAC, about from Ileife. But there's one thing that's been happening to me for decades now. Like, I have two kids now, and they're boys. I've been smoking since I was in GSS3, back in my secondary school, up to date. And I've tried all my possible best to stop this, but nobody's helping me. Even my wife doesn't know I ever smoke till date. And none of my family knew I'm a smoker. So there was a time I traveled out down to Kenya. That was like 4 years ago. So I met this guy. He happens to be a medical doctor in Kenya. So I approached him. I tell him about the story. I tell him what I've been passing through about this smoking cigarette. But the advice he gave to me then even had to this issue of my smoking, because it was like if I quit, so many symptoms, so many like all this, infection might like come up, she understands. So ever since then, I've been trying to quit. Like seriously, nobody's helping it, and I've been taking so many drugs. Even though up to date, I've not been having an infection like maybe cough or maybe all this kind of things. Do you get this? But I just want to quit, and then I've been trying to, some other times I saw this program on this platform. I was like, just wait. But today I just have to stay long to this moment so that I just find an answer to my problem. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, K. Black. Please stay on. Definitely, Dr. Adekeye would respond to that. But quickly, Dr. Kemi, would you want to answer M. Sani in just 10 seconds?
What he said, Mr. Sani, what you said about the election, we actually had a Twitter space on this.
No, he's asking you about chemist and pharmacy.
Okay, chemist and pharmacy. Mr. Sani, I'm not licensed to practice in Nigeria. I'm only licensed in the United States, but I have friends who own pharmacies. Narcotics are not accessible in Nigerian pharmacies. In America, it's supposed to be that way, but the way the narcotics come out is through somebody who got it legally, and then it was distributed. So like, my mother got 30 pills for her pain, and I stole 10 pills out of the 30. That's how it gets to the streets in America, and that's how it started. Here in Nigeria, we do not have a drug pharmacy bill signed. It is ready for President Buhari to sign. He has not signed it. So you can buy travel.
It's been signed, Dr. Kemi. You didn't get it.
It has been signed. I didn't follow it.
Yeah, it's been signed.
Was it part of the bills they signed last week?
No, not last week. This should be well over a month now. That's pharmacies.
I didn't even hear about it. Now you see what's going on in the media. The media did not hype it. What was his question? His question was...
I know you didn't get him. What his question is difference between a pharmacy store and what he actually meant by chemist is the patient, what do you call patient, what is patient medicine store, something like that.
Okay, so, Mr. Sani, a patent medicine store in Nigeria is what they call an OTC section in a drugstore abroad. When you enter a drugstore, there's an over-the-counter section, OTC, over-the-counter. You can buy anything you want in the OTC section, but if you have a prescription, you must take a piece of paper the doctor gave you or any other specialist to the back of the store where the pharmacy is. That's how it's done over the US. In Nigeria, Nigerian pharmacies, Nigerian drugstores also have an OTC section. You can enter any of the Health Plus or Medicine Plus and you can buy some things. But if you need to get a prescription drug, that paper is not always necessary. You can buy antibiotics without a prescription in Nigeria. You can buy high blood pressure drugs. You can buy asthma drugs. It shouldn't be. That's why the pharmacy bill needed to be signed. Now that I'm hearing it's been signed, I haven't been in journalism for the last 60 days, but now I hear it's been signed. How are they going to enforce it? Even the people don't want it. They're saying they're not going to the doctor to get everything they're going to buy in the pharmacy. So let's watch how this plays out. The patent medicine stores, real quick, are just the over-the-counter drugs. Someone opens a store and selling it. I thought about opening one before. You go out, you get a license from NAFDAC, you open a drugstore that just has only over-the-counter medicine. You can make money from it, but everybody has it in every corner of your street. And it's not good, because some of them are selling prescription drugs.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Kemi. The PCN bill was actually signed into law in September 2022. That's, well, yes, it was signed into law. We followed it because we were interested in it. It's something that we're... Now, to answer Sunny, as far as, in relation to NDLA election, yeah, we are part of the Security Council of the election, and we're doing all that we need to do as far as that is concerned. That is our own responsibilities there. We're trying to... that's why you see NDLA officials more on the road these days trying to conduct a lot of interdiction operations on the roads, intercept, just block access and availability of these drugs, and you would have seen us. But beyond that, we also go to the source. That is where these things are coming from, whether in the forest, in the factories. I'm sure you've been following NDLA, you will see all of these. All of these are our roles, and beyond that, we still work with other stakeholders, other security agencies to ensure that these things don't go around. And the feedback we're getting, I can tell you that the things we're doing are really having impact or effect on the distribution of these illicit substances. Thank you very much. And quickly, we'll take Loretta, are you trying to say something in 10 seconds before we ask Dr. Adekeye to respond, then make his parting statement?
Yes.
Please go.
Thank you. 10 seconds, sorry. I always recognize my husband is somewhere here. Hi. Secondly, I want to also talk about something somebody mentioned in the comment section. The person talks about how are we making impact. We should not just be speaking grammar on this platform. If you're still on this platform and you're Facebook hearing us, we are making impact as much as we can to this platform. However, I have always advocated for one thing. Be the change. If there are parents on this platform, go back home. Everything you have said today, try to implement one or two. Don't say, my mother used to say, when you try to bend a dry stick, it's a break. Don't have that perception and impression. Nothing can be changed. You know, if you're a parent here, go back home. Have younger children, if you have a Gen Z, the earlier the better. Just try. And like I used to say, people start from your home, your community, your world, your environment. According to Dr. Femi, your circle of influence, start from there and don't come to the platform and start harassing. People are speaking English, where are you making the impact? We all can be all out there. But once we have everyone, each one here in their homes as an advocate, as a strategist, as someone implementing what we're talking about, it is a rollover. It's like, what they call this thing? It snowballs. It is a chain, from here to there, and you can never know how many lives you save. And for the young one that talked about something, what he's struggling with, this is what we're talking about. We want to hear people talk about how can we support, how can we help, and how can we, connect them to the right support system. And Dr. Tusi said something very, very, very crucial and critical. He said recovery is expensive, and that word really hits me hard. And the truth is that when you remember that recovery is expensive, you will start supporting the younger ones from your own circle of influence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Loretta, for that shot from you. And now we get our guest speaker, Dr. Oluwatosin Adekeye, to respond, especially that's one for him, a pharmacist, to come on this space to, open up and then seek for help. I think that's very, very challenging, and I'll leave that to Dr. Adekeye to respond to. And if there is any other thing, then he would also round up before we close the session. Thank you, Doc. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to just thank everyone for their comments, their kind reviews. and all that. And to our brother out there who has come out to say this is the challenge that I've been facing, can we give advice? Now, the truth of the matter is that the best way around it would be to get help from professionals. Advice to say don't do this or don't do that will not work at this point. It's a long-standing issue, but it's something that can be worked on. The first step is your being open to be able to come out and say it in an open space like this, and to say, I have two sons, I am this, I am this, I am that. I mean, I'm now using my clinical skills now to evaluate and say, your motivation is in place, and it's important to take the next step, which would be to reach out for help. Now, I know that you've said something about, I'm not sure where you live, around where you live, but maybe what we can do is for you to reach out to me later on after the program, and wherever it is that you stay, I can link you up with people who, with qualified clinical psychologists who can help you and walk you through that process. So that's what I think we should do at this point. So having said that, I am grateful that we've spent about 2 hours now just, enjoying this space and having this conversation. A few years ago, who would have thought that this was feasible? This is what, you see, I said something in my presentation about Gen Z being the first. They are the guys who make us do things in a different way. So we need to give a clap, like they would say, we need to give a clap offering to the Gen Z people.
Now I can confirm you are a pastor, Doctor. I think.
You see, I think that one just slipped out. Anyway, so that, they've helped us to move from our comfort zone, and we're seeing the space change. We're seeing the world change. I remember that you greeted somebody from Uganda. I mean, in the past, you go and collect visa, travel all the way to either Abuja or Lagos to be able to just see one person in Uganda. We live in a borderless society, where there is a lot of interaction. Or challenges, but this is one of the beautiful sides of it, and this is one of the upsides of it. And I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank NDLEA for doing this. I mean, I was in the dark until Dr. Femi called me, and then I quickly, of course I have a Twitter handle, so I quickly went there, and saw them there, and I'm like, wow, why didn't my brain go there all this while? What was I looking for, before now? And while chatting with Loretta, she said, wow, it's true, I also speak there, and all of that. And I'm like, okay, this is beautiful. And I want to just say, please keep up the good work. When I joined ABU, we knew NDLEA as people who park by the side on the way to Zaria just after Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic, and they are checking vehicles. But it's good to see that it's gone beyond that, to take the message to young people where they are. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, particularly, and thank you for giving me your time, to be able to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oluwatosin Adekeye. Awesome presentation and excellent performance. We thank you sincerely. We do hope to definitely still benefit from your wealth of knowledge and experience in the weeks and months ahead as we continue this conversation. Before I draw the curtain, I have seen that we have quite a lot of, I guess we have more people from the Chicago axis in the U.S. than from other parts of the U.S. I have seen, yes, Loretta is a Chicago-based. I have seen a number of friends who... Yeah. I've just also seen, let me also acknowledge, I've seen somebody too who I also suspect is based in Chicago. I think Justin B. Heshon. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce that very well. Thank you all for coming on the space today. I can't run through the names all over again. That's it's a long list. I appreciate every one of us. It's been awesome having this conversation. And we will continue to engage with our young people and everyone who needs to know facts about drug use so that we all can be well guided and we can I take one of the major takeaway from me is the opening quote given by Dr. Adekeye. That's from Sarah Cohn. There is not a drug on earth that can make life meaningful. Meaning, what are we abusing these substances for? Please. I know we have quite a lot of people who would have loved to speak, but then time will not permit us. I can assure you that we would be dwelling on still on this same topic, but another aspect of it. Next week we would be having another mental health expert to speak with us to lead the conversation. At this point, I'd like to thank my colleagues who have been assisting me from the other end. That is Bamidele Fadansi. Mahmoud is in school today, so I permit him to take the time off. But Bamidele Fadansi has been there. Shidi Unduku, Francis Okogo, and quite a lot of them out there. Thank you all, guys, for doing an excellent job assisting and supporting me out there. And thank you everyone who have been part of this conversation. Next week is another time. I thank you especially my own beautiful officer out there in Kaduna, Asma Ahmad, who has made
we're going to say thank you to her too.
Yeah, doctor, who has made it very possible to get Dr. Luatosin Adekeye on this space today. Till we come next week for another interesting conversation. Please enjoy the rest of your evening and do have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye from me.